Hi everyone, it's Leonore. Welcome back. This is Soul Searching Tarot. For those who are viewing me for the first time, I do integrate astrology, tarot card reading. But today I am going to talk about messages that are sometimes given to me by source. And I like to go over those messages, not just for myself, but for my viewers, you know. And I know that sounds kind of weird. What the fuck does she mean given to me by source? Well, source could be anything. It could be spirit guides, ancestors, God, aka Akashic Records. We'll go into that. But I have done a couple of Aquarius videos before, Age of Aquarius videos, I should say. I just finished doing the insight and information of Aquarius just very recently. I named it From Darkness to Light for a very good reason. I knew that I wanted to do a couple of videos on the age of Aquarius because Aquarius' birthday is coming up very soon. Happy birthday, Aquas! Sorry, I just had that balloon there for months, so I didn't buy it just for you. Aquas, my birthday passed in the fall. But anyway, yes, right now Mercury is in Aquarius. For those who are not familiar with astrology, Mercury represents communication. Mercury is any form of communication. Mercury can come through the form of communication in technology, contracts, verbal talking. Okay, so right now it's in Aquarius, and Aquarius represents the future, it represents innovation, it represents vision, out of the box. Okay, so we are entering the age of Aquarius in the sign of Taurus. Okay, so the age of Pisces just passed. Okay, it just passed very recently. So we are actually in a transition phase. All right, these constellations last about 2,500, 2,600 years. There's some controversy, or I wouldn't call it controversy, but people can't really agree on the number and the time of a constellation. This is why we have tropic astrology and Vedic sidereal, but it's all math work and the concept of time and physics. The law of physics has to do a lot to do with all this. Okay, there's always going to be some type of debate, always. But is it any different? I wouldn't say so. I would say that the energies do overlap, no matter, if it has to do with the law of physics and their hypotheses and theories, and just as with astrology, doesn't, it just overlaps. It's Vedic sidereal, you could follow tropic astrology, it doesn't matter. It's just an overlap. So neither one is wrong, neither one is right. It's just theories and mathematical work. Lots of math. Lots of numbers involved. Okay? All right, so that was just a little quick intro in the astrology cosmo world. All right, so I wanted to go into Socrates. Socrates came from an era that was way before the age of Pisces. The age of Pisces did start in or around the area of when Jesus Christ died. And I would like to touch on the past before I go into the age of Aquarius, which was the age of Pisces. We just left the age of Pisces. Okay? And so Socrates is from the BC era. I mean, like 399 BC. And so he came up with a very interesting quote called, well, it's not called, but I'll say it to you. It says, all I know is I know nothing. And I think that is very ironic, because when I heard this quote, I thought about today's current events and what's happening in today's current events. So all I know is I know nothing is pretty much the theme of what I'm going to be talking about today. Gents and lads. Sorry, I'm going to be reaching over and getting my tea. I apologize in advance if I sound stuffed up more than usual. God help me. All right. So anyway, yes, that is the philosopher Socrates, and we are going through some current events, you know, that fits, you know, some type of uncertainty that's going to be happening in the future, and so all I know is I know nothing is very, it fits today's events. It fits today's emotions and people wondering about their self-development and using the law of love. It's a big thing, you know, when it comes to ourselves as humans. Self-development and using the law of love is how we evolve. Okay, and Socrates knew this. He knew this way back. It's funny how, you know, we see these amazing scholars and philosophers, builders, architects that were way before the Christ era. And I don't know if you ever questioned this, but I know I have. And I always wonder where they get their knowledge. How did they get their knowledge? You think that being in the year 2020 is probably the most advanced that humans have ever gotten to? Think again. There were species here before us. And I'm not going to get too much into that. I'll get into it in part 2, but these species were made from gods and goddesses. You know, they made them equal to them. They might not have looked human, but they certainly surpassed the knowledge and power of the gods and goddesses. And eventually they had to move on, because that's not what gods and goddesses want. Do not surpass my knowledge, and do not surpass my power. And so hence comes Adam and Eve. So I know that this may upset some of you. I know that it can affect some of you. It may definitely remove some of you from watching me. Trigger some of you. And if you're in the process of self-development, like I just had mentioned, it will enlighten you. And listen, I'm telling you right now, I suck on sugarcoating things. I'm sorry. My Mars is in Scorpio. And I have a lot of Sagittarius in my chart. We are the truth seekers, and we will lay it out there for you, and we don't care. because that's what Sagittarius people strongly believe in. And I'm not just talking about Sun in Sagittarius. I'm talking about if you have Sagittarius and Aquarius in your chart, this transition will be easy, more so than any other signs. Gemini also, I must say, Gemini will transition easily into this age. Capricorns, on the fence of Capricorns. But even Aries, who happens to be the baby of the zodiac, will transition easily into this age of Aquarius. Pisces, I'm on the fence with Pisces, but you know, coming from the age of Pisces, well, I think they might have seen this coming. I want to talk about cannabis. Not the weed. No, not that part. Not cannabis, the weed, but Canibus the rapper. Love him. You know, I heard a lot of 90s rap music, early 2000 rap music, you know. And Canibus, spelled Canibus, was a rapper. He's from Kingston, Jamaica. And I don't think he raps any longer. I know he came out with a dozen albums, but when I first heard of Canibus and when I first heard his lyrics, Canibus happens to be one of the top lyricists in the 20 years of rap. Not the beginning of rap, because obviously rap didn't start in the late 90s, but I would say he was considered to be the best lyricist for 20 years. I think he stopped rapping back in 2004, 2005. He had enlisted in the army, and so he wanted to just leave the rap lifestyle behind. And unfortunately, he never made it because he was caught smoking, guess what? Cannabis. So yeah, I'm not making that up. It's true. He wanted to enlist in the army, and he almost did until he got caught smoking weed. But this man is very smart. He has Sagittarius all over his fucking chart. Like I said, I love him, and I also, you know, do like to look at people's birth chart, especially if they intrigue me. And so Canibus came out with a song called Get Retarded. Now, I don't like the word retarded, I'll tell you the truth. When I hear people say the word retard or retarded, you know, whether it's from adults or children, it kind of upsets me to hear it, because and honestly, I don't even know why it's in the English dictionary, but retarded, you know, I mean, people have an image, you know, it's directed towards people that have cerebral palsy, you know, or have some type of slow intellect, you know, there are people that are intellectually slow. You know, this is serious, and it bothers me, you know, to hear it, because there's nothing funny about having cerebral palsy. Cerebral palsy, you know, comes from the brain. Yes, there are characteristics and traits of people that have cerebral palsy, but there's nothing funny about it, and I don't think people should call each other retards. But in this one song, Get Retarded, I know Canibus is talking about us as a human collective. Now, Canibus is a very smart man. Yes, he was caught smoking weed. Yes, he comes from this amazing island called Jamaica, but he worked for the Department of Justice as a data analyst. Yeah. Um, I'm just gonna leave it at that. And so he was a very smart man. And he knew a lot of things, and he brought that forth through his rhymes. And Get Retarded is one of them. I mean, this man talks about unidentified, oh my God, why am I slurring on my words? He talked about unidentifying flying objects, as he puts it. And he talked about also the Andromeda galaxy. I keep pronouncing that wrong, but Andromeda galaxy. It's a galaxy that's very close to the Milky Way. It's about only 2.5 billion years, light years. He talked about the DNA's double helix and how he's the purest breed, and how, you could take that however he said it, but I know what he means by it. He also talked about the Human Genome Project. The Human Genome Project. He also talks about the modern biology and how modern biology at no time will prevent and treat HIV and AIDS. He even talks about meditating. This is all, by the way, in one rhyme. This is just one rhyme, okay? Just one song, one rap song. It's one of my favorites, and it kind of fits this whole age of Aquarius, because this is all going to be, as people would say, whistleblowers. But there are going to be people that are going to wake up. And not wake up after they are dead, because that's what happens. You wake up after you're dead, believe it or not. But wake up inside this simulation that was made for us humans. Like I said, you can listen to this song. I'm actually going to put the link, Get Retarded by Canibus. I'm going to put the link for those who are interested in hearing his rhyme. It's not a Disney song, so do not expect to click on it and listen to a Disney song. He is by no means, I just told you he's a Sagittarius, right? They don't sugarcoat things. This is a guy who's had beef with LL Cool J and Eminem. Yeah, he developed a few high enemies, in the rap world. But yeah, it's very interesting. His whole life is very interesting. I love him. But moving on, I just wanted to say that Canibus knew that there was knowledge and power that belonged to us. He knew that. And so this knowledge and power just does not belong to the Masons. It does not just belong to the pharaohs. It just does not belong to the eye in the sky. It belongs to all of us. When Canibus talks about the DNA and the double helix, which is the image of the DNA, and I'm sure some people might have seen the image of how DNA double helix, that cross, and the Human Genome Project. There was a project that the government had worked on about people's genes, and I just want you to know real quick, I'm trying not to digress as much, but this is the fucking age of Aquarius. What are you going to do? Mercury is in Aquarius, so I'm going to be talking about it. I can't help it. My moon is in Aquarius, but and so I feel very passionate about stuff like this, and it affects me a lot, on purpose, not by accident. And so when I hear people taking their DNA tests because they want to know where they came from, what origin they came from, and that's fine. I did one myself years ago. There's something that's missing that the government won't tell you. But we do come from a species that is not just derived from the Bible, or from Adam and Eve. It comes there's particles in us that have been broken down throughout generations that scientists and doctors cannot explain. Our brain has some type of crystals, for crying out loud, that comes from outer space. Now, I'm kind of exaggerating. They do have a specific name for it. You know, when people get enlightened, there is a light inside of our brain that turns bright and enlightens us. It's a crystallized, some people call it crystallized humans, you know, when we come down from our past lives, for a reason. There is a broken down, crystallized particle that is inside our brain that if we don't use it, we won't tap into the Akashic records. I was talking about the Akashic records before, you know, and it's there inside our brain. Now, scientists are like, well, there's no such things that are in our DNA, and it's a very small percentage. This is not something that's like, I'm talking about somebody that is walking around that's half alien, or am I? But I'm talking about things that already were inside of us when we were born. And so I'm not going to get too much into it. This is what I'm going to just talk about in part 2 for the most part. But, you know, I am kind of digressing. I'm like fucking freestyling right now with you guys. And I apologize if I sound like I'm all over the place. But I just want you to know that these are the things that I'm going to be touching about when it comes to the age of Aquarius. And so, you know, Canibus, I don't know any other rapper that came close to his lyricist style of opening people's eyes. You would have to be a person that listened to his rhymes. Like, some people may not get it and be like, oh, I don't get that. And it's okay. It's okay. Not a lot of people are gonna get it and don't want to get it. But I think it's probably one of the reasons why he developed, you know, enemies in the hip hop world. Because listen, you don't mess with somebody who knows more than you. And the way he just flowed his rhymes, you would think that, you know, he stopped and breathed. He's wonderful. He's wonderful. Sorry, I know I'm like, I'm kind of like, just putting him up there in the pedestal, but he's just a very smart guy. I love smart men. Now, let's move on, shall we? You know, I was talking about the age of Pisces a little bit, and I wanted to touch on it. And so, like I was saying, in the Bible, there is something, I talk about the Bible all the time, not all the time, but, here and there. And there's a lot of metaphors in the Bible that, you may or may not get, because there's so many metaphors, and then that's okay. But I'll tell you right now, one thing that the Bible does predict is that the false and foolish prophets who invented their own vision and inspirations will be no longer in the age of Aquarius. Those who have used religion to enslave, and those who have used religion for bloodshed will be no longer. As well as the wizards and witches who happens to be on people's payroll. I will not mention who are these people, but I think I did before. If you missed it, it's okay. This is only part 1 of Age of Aquarius, guys. Sorry about the steam. It's winter time, guys. What do you want me to do? The steam. If you hear the steam in the background, let it fly. All right, well, I'm not going to get too much into religion. I think I said enough. But that's what the age of Pisces was about. Long story short, that's what the age of Pisces was about. Because Pisces represents all these things. Wizards, witches, demons, lies, pain, religion, demons, angels. I didn't name the last insight on Aquarius. From darkness comes light for no reason. I knew that I wanted to touch on the age of Aquarius, and I wanted to start from darkness to light. I'll leave the link. It's pretty lighthearted. It's not as dark and gloomy. It's pretty lighthearted. I try to make the insight and information for the age of Aquarius, not so dark. And so even though I'm getting into the dark and gloomy topics now, if that's what you want to call it, I call it enlightenment. You should really get, if you want to know more about Aquarius, period, you should really look at that video. I'm not going to leave the other links that I did for Age of Aquarius. Just doesn't make any sense. You're more than welcome to go back and look at those videos. If you want me to leave the link, just email me. I'll give you the link. But I do. If you don't know me by now, I do things in baby steps. And so right now, if I had to say where I'm at the age of Aquarius when it comes to this type of talk and segment and content on this channel, right now I'm in 5th grade. I started in 1st grade, and I moved up to like maybe 3rd grade, and so forth. But yeah, we're this part is like 5th grade, about to go into high school. So if you think this is dark and gloomy, wait till I move on with part 2. So I hope you embrace this type of the lighthearted part of Aquarius, which is the insight and information, and as well as the darkness, because like I said, I call it from darkness till it comes light. And our job in this simulation, folks, that we live in, is to embrace the darkness of humanity, to find the light. I know that that may sound kind of weird. I don't know what people think. You know, from darkness comes light. One cannot exist without the other. We have to embrace both. Neither one cannot be destroyed, and one cannot exist without the other. There has to be dark, and there has to be light. So when I say from darkness comes light, this is what I've probably have touched on in the past 25, 30 minutes. You have to understand, my beautiful viewers, that your emotions can become reality. Okay? I'm just gonna leave it at that. Now I was talking about, I'm gonna click off soon, but I was talking about the world of physics and mathematicians and philosophers. And it's perfectly normal for us to question our existence and our values, knowledge, our mind. You know, that's what these people are all about. You know, it's kind of like that sort of like that old age question, you know, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? It's just pretty much that type of content that I'm going to be moving on and progressing into the age of Aquarius. Okay? Now, if you want to look at my past videos, because you feel like this was too intense, you're more than welcome to. It's not as intense as this part of the age of Aquarius content. But I am going to be moving on to part 2 sooner than later. I hate to give dates. I really hate to give dates. I have been working on them, but you know, if you feel like this was too much for you, then I would suggest not to even go into part 2 of the age of Aquarius, because if you think my ass is crazy right now talking about this, you're gonna probably want to call an asylum for me when I go into part 2. But it's not my fault, you know, this is coming from me from somewhere. Okay, I'm just giving you the information. Do you want to know it or not? Love you.